vegan turned beef advocate. On this episode, we're heading up to Seattle where we're gonna hang out with Caroline and talk about her experience of how she's been able to use her passion for writing as a way to unlock an opportunity in her dream job and find a way to combine beef and veganism. Check it out.
It was so cool. I think I cried when that happened. Basically, the CEO of Campbell Soup Company reached out to me and like 10 other women in Seattle and was like, hey, we want to put together a citywide network of women in food, women who are leaders, who are generally millennials or a little bit older. And we've identified you as being one of the people we want to talk to. And I was like, yeah. Why?
Hi, are you sure you got the right, Carolyn? Is this the right one? Caroline was a recent graduate from Vanderbilt University who took her talent up to Seattle. We were able to combine our love of Seattle, where I was originally living, time to go catch some thrown fish and learn a little bit about how Caroline was able to use her creation event experience to land her dream job. And then there was an interesting point too, where I think it was sort of an interesting transition. So you came in, you know, in a lot of ways, I think this role originally was advertised as an intern even, right? Like it sort of was like the role to be this like intern writer book thing was designed to say like, oh, whatever, we'll find someone who's just okay to write. Now you kind of come in and through this process, you're working directly with the founders of like one of the hottest startups in the food space in Seattle. Like now they've raised a whole bunch of money now and stuff like that.
Startup of the year.
Yeah, startup of the year, right? Is that right? Yeah, startup of the year in Seattle. So like huge, right? Like all these sorts of things. And here you are, like now you're working directly with the founders of this company. You're the front face of this company to their farmers and things like that. Did it get intimidating at all? Like, because I think you're now seeing yourself like not only being this like intern write a book, but now they're saying, now you're writing a book. We want to help you. We want you to be in charge of the marketing of the book and parts of, marketing the organization. What sort of, how did you see that jump up to sort of inside the organization happen while you're there?
It was a little bit intimidating, but also super exhilarating. I think one thing before joining CrowdCow, I had only worked really through, one job after school and a bunch of internships in college in the realms of either nonprofits or media, or that overlapping space between them. And so joining a startup for the first time, I finally meaningfully appreciated what is always said about startups, that at startups, you wear a lot of hats.
Yes, yes.
And so, yeah, I think it was originally advertised as like a 3-month internship.
Right.
And so I go in and I was thinking, okay, like I'll be over here in my little silo, like working on the book in the corner. Because that's kind of what I thought would happen. That's what it said.
Exactly.
And I get there and I think on my first day, they were like, okay, like we also need you to like copyright, write emails, think about content and what we should be putting out there and X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so I grew into that and I grew to love that. I grew to really, really like taking on additional projects, but B, since it was at this early stage, I loved feeling integral to what was happening on a day-to-day basis and to survival week by week. And yeah, I think that eventually grew into, I went to a bunch of farms, half to do interviews for the book and take pictures for the book, but also to, do additional kind of marketing background and gather raw materials that the company would use in various types of communication and marketing materials. And what else? I ended up sort of managing the PR side of things. I created all of the content and various other things. And so
the book became, in a lot of ways, like the book started to become a central tenet of how CrowdCow intended to brand and market and build its, so it's just, yeah, we want to write a book, but it suddenly then, when it became good and it became powerful and more people were involved in it, it sort of took like a big part of the overarching like brand building out there too. So like, it increased its importance, and your role in its marketing and distribution became more central.
I think so. Yeah. We surfaced the phrase craft beef through one of my interviews for the book, and that we later did a brand building exercise with an outside consultant for a couple months that myself and a few others were closely involved in, and craft beef became the center of our brand. And I also loved watching, the book become one of the main ways that Joe and Ethan would introduce themselves to other people, people, sort of investors or important people in the craft beef movement, to farmers. Even to think about the investors, they Joe Montana and Ashton Kutcher, they typically, those type of people invest in brands. They don't invest in companies, right? And so it's this sort of like that idea of, Ashton is a super savvy guy. I mean, he was an investor in my company. The fact that piece of that came from an interview was sort of fascinating to watch sort of this start to become a thing. And so I think, above all, in terms of career development, being able to talk about the entire process of this book, not just writing the manuscript, but overseeing it from concept to design of the cover to execution of marketing strategies that not many people have done before,
right?
Getting it to be a bestseller on Amazon, it totally demonstrated my abilities in a way that few other experiences for me have been able to do. No other experiences have been able to do.
Right.
It let me jump ahead to this position that I'm extremely honored to be in, because frankly, I shouldn't have at age 20.